to our next conversation. In today's fast-paced digital economy, small and medium-sized enterprises are increasingly turning to digital payments to unlock growth, improve efficiency, and enhance customer experiences. With the rise of mobile wallets, contactless payments, and fintech innovations, businesses that embrace digital transactions can streamline operations, reduce costs, and tap into new markets, both locally and globally. However, many SMEs still face challenges in adopting digital payments, from high transaction fees to cybersecurity concerns and limited digital literacy. Well, let's unpack all of this now with Oluwole Abegunde, is a research director at InsiYHTCS, joining me right here in the studio. It's great to have you. Good morning.
Thank you, Ladi. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so, definitely payments are a critical part of doing business. And, we have a lot of SMEs now, and most entrepreneurs, they've called us a hustle economy at some point, because everybody's selling something on social media. But, getting those payments and, getting into the digital space, some SMEs are still struggling with that. Speak to me about your research and what you've seen so far, how digital payments is helping most of these SMEs and how they're navigating, using digital payments.
Okay, so SMEs have no choice but to go digital if they want to scale, because the challenging economics we have in Nigeria is forcing that to happen. The large organizations have mastered that. They have the talent to help them integrate some of these things in their websites, adopt these technologies. But SMEs don't have that kind of manpower. But there's competition in the market for customers. So if you're an SME, you want to grow, you have to find a way to adopt digital.
Because if you tell me you don't have a particular mode of payment that I'm comfortable with, I'm going to move
to the next person that has. So even in the market, if you go to even the informal market, the Saleko, Mushi, and all of that, you see elderly women with POSs with their hands now that want to collect payment, because they realize that not everybody can handle cash or wants to handle cash, because that's expensive for people. So I want to buy a material from you in the market. Do you have the POS? Can I transfer? Can I do a mobile transfer to you? Stuff like that. If you don't have those kind of things available, there are other people who are willing to take that money off me. So they are being forced to, because of competition, because of the economic, to grow in that direction.
Right, and it seems, the cashless move we had, at some point back then, it was somewhat of a blessing and a curse at the same time.
Depending on who you are.
Because it depends on who you are. Because now, if I'm trying to buy maybe yam, one of the markets across the street, all of them have an account. It was different. Before now, they would say, no, you have to give me cash.
Yes.
So things are getting better when it comes to most of it, because we now have the local sellers.
Even shoe cobblers.
Even shoe cobblers. Everybody has an account at this point with the fintech.
Yeah, so it was a good move at the time. It was Sanusi's period when he was CBN governor that made that move into cashless. And it's good because...
That Mr. Emefiele's time too.
Exactly.
That was the major one.
Thank you for correcting that. So that is helping grow the economy, because the more people are into the digital economy, the more it's better for the country, the more GDP can grow. But when it's based only on cash, there are a limited amount of people that can patronize your business. So from a micro and a macro level, it is better for the country that more people get in that digital payment scheme.
So, definitely as a small business, as an SME, you want to, as long as you're, gathering market where you are, you want to also enter new markets.
Absolutely.
How are digital payments helping, with that, pushing some of these businesses into new markets?
So for some of them, especially for the ones who are online, on social media, on WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram, some of them have websites that people can go to and make purchases for whatever they want. So whether you are sleeping, you are awake, irrespective of your time zone, whether in Nigeria or in Kenya, somebody from Tanzania can buy from you. So going online with that has really, really helped. Because when you have a website, when your shop closes in Oshodi or in Mushin, business doesn't end. Anybody anywhere else can still go on the website, make an order, get a purchase, and you're still making money. So that is, again, we're seeing transformation in every area, across segments, even in the informal place where you have small shop owners who are having websites now, who have Instagram accounts now, having WhatsApp accounts now. Now you can even make payments on WhatsApp, on Facebook now. So that is helping them, because again, you're being forced to transform, or you will die. because there's somebody else waiting to get that customer from you.
Right. Somebody's always waiting, at this point. So talk to me about some, success stories that you've seen in that, with some of these SMEs that have embraced this digital payment infrastructure, and it's really helping them at this point.
So story came out last week about a food vendor, Amoke, who sells food.
That was huge.
Massive.
So, I didn't know you could make $1 billion selling amala. I'm shocked.
But people eat.
Wow.
Miles Monroe says what you don't measure, you can't manage. And that's what Childek helped her to do. Helped her to measure what she was doing. I'm sure even her, the lady herself, would be surprised. Are you kidding me? I'm doing this just on amala. And there are people who live around her who will be like, okay, what does she do? Amala. But when they see she's doing 2.3 billion or something of that range, attending to over 500,000 customers online, that is massive. Over 3 years, that is about 150K customers in a year. Per day, that's about 500 customers per day. I doubt she's doing 500 customers per day at a shop. But because she's able to leverage technology and grow her business, she's doing massive things. SMEs have to understand that if they want to scale, there are 3 things they have to focus on: capital, technology, or collaboration. Unfortunately, they focus only on capital. But they have to start leveraging technology now, and digital payments can help them do that. You don't have to be there for people to buy your business. Wherever you are, set up that system so that anybody, anywhere across the world can buy from you.
Quite interesting. Have you tasted her amala before?
Yeah.
Definitely, that's, you just feel like, come on, it's just amala at this point, but wow.
I mean, it's
2.3 billion.
Again, it's the experience, and that's what digital helps again. Because not everybody wants to go to her outlet and wait on a queue to buy. I can be in my house anywhere in Ikoyi, VI.
Yeah, because it's quite a struggle going in there. You have to,
even parking space.
So much queues there. And
parking space is a problem.
Right.
But if I can be in my house anywhere in Magodo and order for amala, why not? Why not do that? And that's why you've seen that traction. And I think because that news came out, thanks to Childek, many more people start thinking about how to. Because there are bigger amala brands in the States.
Right.
They're like, are you kidding me? So
I think I need to start selling amala too. Let me taste that billion at this point. So what do you think, fintechs and traditional banks can do to make, most of these SMEs have more access, to all of these digital platforms?
I recommend they should just make the technology work. End of story. If you talk to some of the SMEs, especially the elderly ones, there are challenges, it doesn't work. So I come to your store and I say I make a payment, it doesn't go. And mama is worried, has it really paid? But if it goes all the time, it's complete all the time, then she doesn't have that fear to accept any form of payment. So the banks and fintechs should just work, because there is the people side, there's the process side, there's the tech side. Make sure all 3 work. Have the right connectivity provider, have the right IT systems in place, have the right people, skill sets in place to ensure that these things work. Like what happened to Jam a few weeks ago about software patches. There are people who depend on those payment platforms. Ensure what needs to be done is done at the right time so that everybody makes transaction and it goes once. Nobody's questioning, have you paid, have you not paid? I've not seen the alert, come back tomorrow, stuff like that. And
there's also that risk of fake transaction receipts.
Oh, it's bad.
That's a big one.
It's a big one.
At this point. Somebody says, I've made payments, send you a receipt. You feel like, oh, that's the real thing, but it ends up being fake.
Unfortunately, there are apps online today that you can download and you can generate fake alerts. So I come to your store again and I buy whatever from you and I show you the fake alert. Of course, you don't get one. Call customer experience will allow me leave, believing I look decent enough. And you start waiting for an alert, hour per hour, day by day, and it almost becomes like you're waiting for a ship at the airport that will never arrive.
Right.
And when you have 1 or 2 of those experiences, you start to wonder, do I want to accept this kind of thing? If you can't pay cash, please stay away. Right. And there are people who still have that kind of mindset, even in Lagos, in Abuja and Port Harcourt, because they've been burnt. Because how much is the margins they're making on these products they're selling, and you have 10 fake alerts in a day.
Yeah.
That is pretty bad. So they just say, cash policy, if you don't have cash, I'm sorry.
Right.
And they are content.
Yeah, I'd rather not lose money.
Lose money than, in the name of going digital. So the banks and fintech can just help ensure it works so that those kind of things, because the reason why the man can say, I've paid, and has confidence that you're not stealing because he knows sometimes it doesn't work. You also know it doesn't work. So you give him the benefit of the doubt to leave. But if it always works, once you get your alert, I get mine.
Right.
We're all happy.
Yeah, so we don't have to stand there too long waiting for that confirmation.
Confirm, yes.
So, there's always that talk about, decentralized finance, that's DeFi. How are you seeing that interplay? Are you seeing adoption, of DeFi in traditional finance?
It's still nascent, even globally. But I believe it will become pervasive because you're seeing big brands like Apple, Microsoft, Tesla embracing it. I believe when it gets to that growth stage, it will trickle down across the world, even to Nigeria and Africa. So it's an ongoing thing that will definitely scale once people start to really adopt and accept it. Once the big brands start, the Nikes, Coca-Cola starts to accept it, then everybody is forced to, okay, this thing works, I can take it, and there's no loss in it. So it will take a while. And governments are now backing these things also now. The tune is changing across the world, in the US, even locally in Nigeria. The government's tune towards cryptocurrency is changing. And I think that will also help in the next 5-10 years for that to start, people having confidence in accepting payments in cryptocurrency.
Yeah, but it's very interesting to see, most of those blockchain payments used for day-to-day transactions. Hopefully, you don't hear the network is congested, as we see with some of these cryptocurrency networks.
But that's why I was saying whoever is involved on the supply side has to ensure it works. Because that's the thing about technology. Nobody wants to hear about 5G, blockchain, AI. Does it work? End of story. If it works, fine. Yeah.
We'll use it.
We'll use it.
If it works.
Yeah.
All right, so how are you seeing most of these digital payments help most of these businesses in customer targeting, at this point to actually, boost their sales and business?
So one of the key things about going digital is you have records. There's data for you to use to leverage. So thank God we're in the AI era now, you can leverage AI to start to slice and dice who has bought from you, what time did they buy, where did they buy from, what did they buy, and you as a business owner can start to become proactive. So Mr. X buys this every Thursday. How do I find a way to deliver this to him on Wednesday? And that increases the customer experience to stay with you so it doesn't go to the other supplier. So involving AI, data analytics, and that's why SMEs have to. The problem with SMEs generally is that name, SME, small. They think very small. That's a problem. And they think to involve AI in your business, it has to be something really huge. There are free tools out there that you can download, leverage, and use to analyze the data that you have. Even from your POS machine alone. Who has paid what time did they pay, the volume they paid, and how can I leverage that to ensure that guy has a better experience with me?
Okay.
So the next time they're thinking about buying, they're coming.
All right. As an SME, think big at this point. Thank you so much, Oluwole Abegunde, Research Director at InsiYHTCS. Thank you.
Thanks so much for having me, Ladi.
We'll take a moment now.